Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Henderson, and you are at the podcast Beyond Self-Care Basics for Educational Leaders. And you know why we gather? We gather to really talk about those advanced self-care strategies that could really change the culture of the school and change the performance of the staff. We want them to be able to find work-life balance, approach it, and still do a fantastic job. We are concerned about the fact that so many principals, so many educators are leaving their position due to burnout. So, who do I have here today? Miss Robbie Tate. And I've been excited about this interview because this woman is on fire. She is a lover of students and her school community. And so I wanted to introduce you to her. She also is an advocate for the need for self-care among teachers and principals. And Robbie, I want to introduce you. Say hi to everybody, Robbie.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. And what I did was I pulled up your message to your school community. Tell us a little bit now. You've been a principal in education for 15 years, correct?
hmm
Uh-huh. And how long have you been a principal here at
Um, this is my second year here at La Tijera. I started last year in October. I became principal in November, but I count that year. Okay.
Hey,
I
yes,
count that as a year. Okay. As a first year principal. So this is my second year here as principal.
I love it. So I love the fresh eyes that you're bringing to the principalship because I think that's really, really needed. And as I was reading your message, it seems very apparent. Well, first of all, that you're gung ho and what you want for your students. You want a rigorous program that they go through so that they're career and college ready.
hmm
So I love that whole idea. Now, my question to you is at this point, and I know you're new to this, but what are you most satisfied at this point in terms of what you've achieved at La Tierra?
Well, there's a few things I'm proud of. First of all, let me just say this. It is an honor and a privilege to be a principal wherever you are. But it's a super honor to be a principal here at La Tijera. I grew up in the community. I actually went to La Tijera. So there's a lot of things that I'm proud of, but I have to say, people believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I didn't, I knew I wanted to be a principal, but I didn't know I was going to become a principal so soon. And so instead of giving up, I was very resilient in making my mind up to this is what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to do the best that I can. So that's something that I'm proud of because it was a lot of pressure. My mom is also a principal, an amazing principal. So I'm like, I am not ready. However, sometimes I've learned that even when you don't think you're ready, sometimes you just got to dive in and just do your best and get ready.
Yes.
And so, one of the things that I would say that I'm proud of is being able to come to La Tijera when it was a lot going on at the time. They had a principal was transitioning, and it's hard when a principal leaves in the transition, especially when it's not it was the beginning of the year, but school had already started. And so I was able to just hop in and see what some of the needs were. I had to prioritize. And so safety was a huge concern. So I have to say that that's something that I'm proud of. I've been able to bring or make this campus a safer campus. Um,
Mm,
it's just by putting systems in place, communicating with people, being consistent, monitoring, holding people accountable. But I think safety is extremely important. The parents feel that the campus is more safe. And the kids, most importantly for me, the kids and the staff, they tell me all the time, Miss Tate, this is like thank you so much. Like I'll stay longer because you're here. And so
wow.
I'm proud of that. Um, I'm proud of just building relationships with the staff. I used to work with some of the staff here as teachers. Like we used to
Wow.
hang.
Wow.
So I'm proud that I've been able to still build those relationships, and just let them know that I'm here to support them. Building relationships with the kids is extremely important. Growing up in Inglewood, I'm able to relate to them, and that's why that rigor is so important. I want them to be competitive when they get out into the real world in whatever they choose to do, career, college, skill, like whatever they choose to do. I want them to be globally competitive and just ready for the world. So, yeah, lots of things I'm proud of, but most importantly, the safety, the relationships, the support that I'm providing here for our staff and students.
Well, that's just very commendable, very commendable. What kind of, if I may ask, what kind of safety issues were you having at the school that was causing some concern?
Um, I think that safety as far as um kids just all over the place.
Okay.
Kids all over the place. There's been some cases where teachers don't feel safe, whether it be from parents, or students, verbally. There was there were, I don't want to put our dirty laundry out, but there were times where parents come try to fight the teachers, trying to fight students.
That's real.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I just want to be honest, and educators in education, they know. And no blame to anybody. The world is constantly changing. The times are hard, right? But if systems are not put in place, then things can get out of control. So, no accountability for children, as far as like respect, following school policy, um, and so different things like that,
I
you know.
see.
Yeah.
Wow. So one thing I was thinking about, how do you keep from getting gobbled up and spat out
Ooh.
by the principalship? Because I sat and watched a principal. I think I watched her for an hour and a half, just sat and observed. And the emotional flexibility that a principal has to have, that flexibility. One minute you're comforting a child, and then you're dealing with a difficult, maybe parent who's about to curse you out, and then you're turning around and you're trying to juggle the budget. And then, you have some people in the corner, your own colleagues talking in the corner, and they're gossiping about you and in a moment. And then you bringing students into fighting students into and I am exhausted just
Mm-hmm.
watching it. But if
Mm-hmm.
that's your daily, woo, this is
Yes.
your daily 9 to 5, Monday through Fridays. And then I'm thinking, okay, and you do this over years. It makes and without intervention, without a intentional intervention on your self-care, your mental, your emotional, your energetic, even your professional self-care, without intentional addressing of that, it is so easy. I can see why teachers and principals get burned out. So how do you keep from getting swallowed whole?
Okay. I do get swallow whole. It happens. Yes, I do. It's something that I how do I say? It's something that it's a process. And so I'm progressing. I haven't mastered it yet, because I've never this is the hardest job I've ever had. Being a principal, I've always had respect for principals. I watched my mom, but people are different. And I have to think of who I am as a person. I am a very emotional person. So this job is difficult for me at times because I'm so emotional. But then I watch my mom and she's not as emotional. So I saw her being so tough. So I'm able to tap into that too. However, the reality is, and I hate to say win or lose, some days I feel like I won and or I'm winning, and some days I feel like I've lost.
Hmm.
And it's just a matter of, just really just, I guess, being quiet sometimes. I need to just kind of go within and tap into like survival mode sometimes. Um, it is very challenging. Um, However, I'm a very resilient person. And so I realized this year, oh my God, last year was like, whoo, things were happening so fast. I'm learning. It was what I tell you, at the end of the day, exhausted, like too exhausted for myself, right? Um, but I realize, and it's something that I'm working on, it's ongoing, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's something that has helped me. Um, Sometimes I have to do things differently. Okay. I have to give
Mhm.
myself grace. I have to set boundaries. Okay. I do as much as I can, but when I get to a point now where it's now I'm not healthy, now I'm not, if I'm not well, then I can't serve.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes those boundaries are hard. You know, parents want you on the spot. I want to be addressed right now. And sometimes I have to say, I can't right now. I'm here to service kids first. I'll call you before I leave today, and that they may end up calling the district and do what you got to do, because at the end of the day my intentions are good, but I have to take care of myself. I'm human. I have to be my best self, and I'm always going to put kids first. And so while everything is going on, I think for me, how I handled it ultimately, and I didn't make this up. I got some advice from a very nice friend, very good friend, and she just kind of reminded me, like, you know what, you just have to do things differently.
Yes.
So that's something that has helped me. Like I said, I still get swallowed up, beat up, mentally, verbally, emotionally. However, I'm resilient. I'm not giving up. I'm gonna be honest. I don't see myself doing this forever, because that's just not how I want to live my life. But I'm in for the fight. I'm in it to win it. I
Yes.
want to make a difference. And so I'm just constantly telling myself, how can I do things differently? Maybe it's being a better listener. Maybe it's setting those boundaries. Maybe it's saying, no, I can't speak to you today. And like I said, it doesn't, as a leader, I can't please everybody. And I like to please
Yes.
people. I want people to be happy, especially people that
Yes.
are around me. I want parents to be happy. I want the community to be happy. But sometimes the things that they ask of me is like, I'm human. Like I can't stop kids from using profanity. I can redirect them and correct them, but it's me against the community, their parents, music, society, culture. So all I can do is do my best, but I can't there's certain things that are just out of my hands, and I just learned to just, I'm not gonna make everybody happy, but guess what? If I'm as long as I'm happy with me, I'm okay, because at the end of the day, the job will go on with or without me. And so I have to
Mm.
take care of me. And so I've learned to detach emotionally, because I'm a very emotional person. I just have to
Mm.
detach emotionally and be okay with someone being angry at me or not happy with me, and I just think about all the people who are happy with me,
Yes.
all the kids that I do have an impact and relationship on. I just focus on that, and it helps. It doesn't solve the problem, you know what I mean? It doesn't take away the burnout, but it helps me sustain what I'm doing right now.
I think it's a resource. What I'm hearing you say, and which I think that we all have to come to that point, and you're new to this, and you're growing in this rapidly, as far as I'm concerned, is as educational leaders and how society sees educational leaders, how we see ourselves as educational leaders actually sometimes gets in the way and promotes tension and promotes, some of the burnout, and redirecting ourselves frequently and understanding what is the bottom line. What is the most important to me as a principal? This is what I live day and out. I actually encourage principals to create a philosophy for themselves that they use it to guide their behavior, their decision making, their everything, so that they know what comes first, second, third, or fourth. And I hear you developing that because you said, for instance, hey, I'm about kids first. A parent, I hear that you called, and I know you feel like this is an emergency, but call me after hours. I'll talk to you. See, that in and of itself is a strengthening. That's a strengthening of your identity as a principal. So instead of acquiescing to everybody and trying to satisfy everybody and burning out, yesterday. You would have burned out yesterday doing that. So I really appreciate what I'm hearing and that you're developing this so quickly and understanding that that's something that only you can answer these questions, Robbie. In the final analysis, you're listening to the district,
Mhm.
you're listening to your colleagues, you're listening even to your mom.
Mhm.
But when you're home at night and and you're chewing on what are my values as a principal, what am I going to live each and every day? In the final analysis, it's on you living out what you believe the vision is for Robbie Tate for however long, and it may change for however long you're there.
Yes.
So I just want to I would stand up and applaud you.
Oh, thank you.
But
It's yeah, a lot of I had to figure this. I'm still figuring it out,
yes,
but giving myself the time and the space to do that, to think through it in a space where I can think,
yes,
and giving myself that grace. Like I said, it's ongoing. I'm not perfect. This is something that I am practicing every day, daily.
hmm,
And so it keeps me going.
yeah, absolutely. I'm loving this. So, and also I want to highlight the fact that you are taking time to think. I think education for me, particularly when I was a teacher, it just seemed like it was so action packed and that every day became a blur. And I was also a single mom. So then I'm running to go pick up my kids and do after school activities with, that I didn't have time. I didn't know to think. It took me a while to figure out, I should be
Mhm.
reflecting on some. They're telling me to do this, but it's rubbing me against me the wrong way.
Mhm.
So I want to applaud you for doing that and encourage you to just continue to take that time out specifically with this once a week and just go over what's going on and what do I need to applaud myself for, give grace to myself for, where do I need to improve? I'm loving this. So why do you think? What are you seeing in terms of your staff, and why do you think so many principals are beyond themselves? Why do you think so many teachers are saying, you know what, I'm hanging up the boots and it's time to look for another profession? What do you think are what are the things that you see, and do you see any remedies to some of these? How can we keep some of these smart,
Mhm.
the best and the brightest? How can we keep them in our district or in this district or another district?
Mhm. Let me just say this. Education is not valued like it should. So you have teachers that are underpaid, right? However, I don't just focus on that, because anybody who goes into education, you're not gonna, make it has to, you must have a passion, right? However, what is being asked and how the world is changing, and kids need more. They need more than just um instruction. They need social emotional, they need wellness, they need counseling. And then you have to and then you have to see if you can pay your rent, your mortgage, and live your life, right? So I think that that's one thing. It's just not enough money for what's being asked and what educators have to deal with. And then two, I just think that, and I keep saying it over, the world is changing. And so education is not what it used to be. And because it's not valued and it's not funded like it should be, you may have places where it's understaffed. So now you have someone doing their job, somebody else's job, and it's overwhelming. The lack of support sometimes that may come from a school district. I think that's in any school district, right? So the lack of support, not being paid enough. And I think one thing, and I didn't learn this until I worked for a particular organization. I think gratitude is very important, right? And so, because it's like teachers are pouring into students, we're pouring into parents, we're pouring into the community, but who's pouring into educators? It's sure not coming through our paychecks. Okay, so who's pouring into us? So I used to work for an organization. I don't want to promote them, okay, because I'm not there no more. However, I have to. say that I'm grateful for my experience with this organization, because one thing that they did well was they showed appreciation and gratitude for teachers. And so as a teacher, I was able to experience that. And I realized that's one of the many reasons why I wanted to move up into leadership. It mattered. When I felt valued, when I felt appreciated, whether it be them giving us swag or sending us out, renting out of the amusement park, everything's free, like whatever it was, a simple note. Um, it made me, some of those other things didn't matter as much. I was reminded, like, wow, like I'm needed. My work is being viewed, like people see the difference that I'm making, they're acknowledging me. And so I think that's really, really important. And that's one thing that I've been able to bring here to La Tijera, as a leader. I thank the teachers every day on the morning announcements for just showing up. I think it's important, and I remind them of how much they are valued and appreciated, because sometimes the students they're not mature enough to, they show, especially the little ones will show you in other ways, but as you get older in middle school, they're too cool. And sometimes parents are, so caught up in their everyday life and traumas and whatever they're going through that they don't show the gratitude. So I do my best to give teachers as many opportunities as they can for extra duty, or any other outside ways they can make any extra money. I make sure that I shout them out and acknowledge them, even if it's something like, even just for being here, because that's one of the things, the first thing I'm looking at when I wake up, who didn't come today? Who I got to cover? What I have to do? So I think gratitude is extremely important. But I see why people are leaving. I mean, you have people who work from home who don't do much of nothing, and they make more than us. You know what I mean? If you research a lot of these other careers, they're less stress, right? So it's like, why am I doing all this when I can still help out and contribute to my community in a less stressful way?
Yes.
Right. So I understand why people are leaving, especially when they don't feel appreciated, they're underpaid, and they're not getting the support that they need. Like I can't even be mad, right? But for the teachers who do stay, I go out of my way, like I said, to show gratitude, to allow them to any, whether it be tutoring, Saturday school, they're already doing a lot of these things. They're planning off the clock, you know what I mean? So any opportunity that I can give them to make some extra money, and also just, creating a culture in a workplace where they want to be. I think that's important, right? So every morning I put out little breakfast bars for them, because guess what? You may show up and you're hungry, and I'm just glad you're here. So guess what? Grab a snack. Okay. I'm gonna feed you. I try to, build partnerships with other organizations where they come and feed. Teachers love food. Educators, we love food, free food. Okay.
Yes, I do.
So, so yeah, just do things like that, so where it's like they like being at work, any supplies or materials they need. I do my best to look at my budget to see if I could, what do you need? You need a printer, you need a new computer, you need some whiteboards, earphones for your classroom. Give me a list. Let me see what I can do. That's the approach that I'm taking, that I don't know that if they're used to that, but I want them to get used to it because they deserve it.
Robbie, you're touching on something that is so basic, but missing on in a lot of workplaces is just bringing humanity back to the workplace. People just want to be treated like human beings that matter. That's it. Some accolades to tell them and to praise them, like you said, to feed them. And it doesn't have to be big shows, of just consistently saying, what do I do right? How do I matter?
Right.
Goes a long way when I know that it has for me. Even when you don't have that big paycheck, people will tend to overlook a whole lot. I'm sticking with this principle. Now you guys can have so and so and so and all that. I'm sticking with, I've done it. And I know that if I were to interview teachers, at your school, they would probably say, if it wasn't for her,
Mhm. They
dot
remind
dot
me.
dot. You
They
know,
remind me. Trust me, they remind me.
that's
And
beautiful.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be in a position to give them the support that they deserve.
Yes. Well, what I want to do is keep uh myself honest. I said 30 minutes. So guess what? We're beyond 30 minutes.
But
And
look, you didn't ask me what do I do
well,
for
but I am
wellness?
but I was gonna say, but I have one last question for you.
Okay, that's important. I want people to hear this
Because you want
because
people to hear this, because this is yes, 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 yes.
yeah, and it
What,
wasn't something that is normal. It's something I had to like plan out and think through.
so what is your I know you probably have a go-to, some kind of self-care routine that you lean on to help you become and to be that fireball of a principal that you are. And what is that, may I ask, that you lean on?
Well, remember that think time that I give myself, right? It's like, what do I love to do? What brings me joy? And so, I love to exercise. Like serious. Like I go to a boot camp, I see a trainer. I just love to exercise. Now, I have to be honest. I have not been in some weeks. Okay. However, I found myself last year staying so late at work that I wasn't making my workouts. Right. So it's an ongoing struggle, but I love to exercise. It's a great stress releaser. Makes me feel good. And so I plan my week out, set some goals. Like I'm going to boot camp this day. I'm going to see my trainer this day. So that's something, like I said, I haven't been in 3 weeks, so I'm slacking, but I know that, right? So once I start back next week, I've already my hair's done now, but after that, I'm going to get back to that. Something else that's new that I added that someone that I enjoy, but I didn't realize how much I needed it. I got a spa membership. So I go get a massage, if not one, like twice a month, but if not twice, once a month. And I go after work. And when I tell you, I am a better person the next day.
I believe it. I discovered a spa membership. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're not even realizing that you need that touch and you need that tweak and that you need to
Mm-hmm.
roll out some of that,
Mm-hmm.
pain out until it's
Mm-hmm.
done. That is
Mm-hmm.
fantastic. So
Mm-hmm.
what I hear that I like is that you know yourself, you're beginning to know yourself so well and what you respond to.
Mm-hmm.
You actually get relief from,
Mm-hmm.
what helps you to be more resilient, and that those are your go-to, and you make that part of your lifestyle, because it's important, I believe, that we don't here and there do something to reduce that we're doing something every day to reduce our stress, anywhere from 5 minutes to all the way, it could be to an hour, but doing something that we're going to respond to, that's going to manage that toxic stress so that you can keep it at a level that you can handle. That's the key, and we can't overlook that. I love that.
One more thing I want to add, and this is, I think, one of the most important things. And someone had to bring this to my attention too. Um, Friends and family.
Mhm.
I am more intentional now to schedule things with my best friends, or with my family, because they are the one who, when I talk about who's filling our buckets, right? They fill my bucket with
Yes,
joy and love, and I'm able to be myself. Sometimes at work, I can't, I have to be that professional, I have to be the rock. But I don't always want to be the rock, and I don't always want to be professional. I want to just be me, and I can
absolutely.
be me with my friends, and I can be me with my family. So I think for me, that's like one of the most important things after exercising in my spa, because we need people, right? We need
Absolutely.
relationships. And these are people that I love and that I trust and who make me feel good, and who I can love on too, genuinely. And so making time for them, whether it be at a happy hour or dinner or just a walk, that has helped me a lot too, because I'm able to just be my full self with no judgment, nothing in return. And it's something that I think is important for people to do in any profession. And it's really helped me.
Absolutely. You're wise, because Oftentimes, a leader's worst foe is isolation. Leaders get isolated, even though they're around people every day, they're being so sucked on, you know, that, their energy is so siphoned that they have very little left for themselves. And and somebody has to know you. Somebody has to know you deeply and still love you with all your wrinkles and with all your goofiness. So
Hmm.
I love that. I enjoy spending this time with you. It's
Thank you.
really, really special. And we'll be sharing this. We'll let your staff know about this podcast. And I'm sure they're going to run it and they want to hear all about it and what you have to say. But with that, I want to again thank you for being here. I know that you're on your way to enjoying yourself later on today. And with that said, I'm going to thank all of you audience for being here. Until next time, peace and joy. Take care for now. Bye-bye.